morning. First of all, I'm having my coffee. But sometime last week I did a quick demo of the Friedman BEOD. I was at my friend Chris's house the other day, showing him the Mezza Boogie and a Kemper and having a general play around on some guitars. And he had one of these pedals, and I plugged it into the Mezza, and I thought, well, that's an interesting pedal, nothing else. So the Friedman BEOD and the Strymon Riverside, both going into my Strymon Iridium, and you just heard the clean tone. This is the Fender setting on the Iridium, so kind of a nice even sound without any drive. So let's hear the BEOD. The settings I've got these are what I used last time I was playing the pedal. Height I've got all the way down, presence I've got all the way down, bass is at midway, and treble is at about 10 or 11 o'clock. Volume is at about 10 o'clock. Gain I've got turned down to about 9:30. So that's with the gain at about 9:30, 9:15, not anywhere near full, which is kind of the interesting thing about this pedal. So if I put the gain on the Riverside on high mode but at about a similar level, I guess you'll hear the kind of difference. Particular similarities in the gain structures at all, as in this has a drive knob that it functions as you would expect. The Friedman on the other hand goes from, so this is gain all the way down, so all the way up there. And don't forget I'm using single coils. The range of that gain knob to me seems quite narrow, as in it's either a lot of gain or too much. So that's a fairly interesting thing about the pedal. Now it says that there's a trim pot inside where you can make adjustments, so I guess you could set the lower bound to be slightly less gain, but I'm guessing they're marketing the Friedman specifically at very heavy players, but it does do some cool stuff. For lead playing, there's like plenty of gain on tap. So my instinct is that is probably the lower gain setting is probably close to the highest in Riverside. Okay, it's a good start. about level with the drive at about 2 to 3 o'clock on this string. Turn the presence up a bit to get. Push the gain all the way up on the Riverside. We'll hit us. On the Friedman at the moment. So I would say, in terms of taking something from clean to crazy amounts of gain that you could do like genty stuff, the Friedman does probably just about take the maybe it would be if the Riverside doesn't have enough gain for you, the Friedman BEOD might be a better bet. However, I would say the Riverside is a more versatile pedal in terms of having a drive knob where you can get do have the built-in gate with the Riverside, which you don't with the Friedman. I think at this kind of gain level, there's a bit of noise, but it's not crazy. And although the Friedman doesn't have a mid knob like the Riverside does, don't necessarily feel like I miss it too much. If you use the presence and the tight knob, you can get quite a range of tones. So yeah, if gent's your thing and you've got an Iridium or a clean amp and you want something to take it over the edge, I would say the Friedman BEOD is probably a good choice. You might want to pair it with a noise gate depending on what your setup is. The Riverside, definitely a more versatile pedal, but for that specific job I'm not really sure the Riverside can quite compete with the BEOD, though it does do lots of good stuff. I guess there's another sort of conversation to be had about, does a pedal need to be super versatile for it to be worthwhile, or do we use a pedal for a specific sound? And I guess that's the kind of the difference between these two approaches to pedals. The Riverside can do a whole range of tones. The Friedman has got a much narrower focus of what it can do, but what it does really well. And I guess that's the kind of argument you could make for yourself. Do I need a pedal that's going to do 100 different tasks, or do I just need this pedal that's either going to handle my lead tone or my rhythm tone? And that's a question to be had, I guess. You can hash that out in the comments if you so desire. For me, I guess a lot of my pedals I like to be kind of versatile, but I think it's completely fair to have one pedal that does one job. And quite likely, if I was to use just a pedal for a lead tone, that Friedman BEOD would be a perfectly decent choice. If you've got some other classic kind of drive pedals like a Tube Screamer or some of these other pedals, you'll find that if you're a heavier kind of player, that as you get to the end of where that drive knob can physically go, the amount of gain that you've got on the pedal, oftentimes you've got that gain pushed right up and you think, I'd just like that extra bit more. The Friedman kind of starts at where you might expect those other drive knobs to end, so kind of that territory of where a Tube Screamer, if you've got it pushed all the way up gain wise, you might get. But it's kind of useful to have that range of gain above where you normally might have it, and it's kind of usable the whole way, especially for lead playing. be interesting to hear if there are other pedals that do this sort of job. I guess the pedals that might have that level of gain are kind of be fairly specialised, like a metal zone, for instance, I would guess would get you there, but I'm not sure how smooth that would, if it would be able to be as smooth as that Friedman sounds to me. But if you've got ideas, it'd be cool to chuck them out there. I think I might keep this in my arsenal just because I've then got a pedal that I know that I can use to take from clean to fully saturated lead tone, just in one pedal. So although it's not the most versatile pedal, I think it does have a definite place there, because it's also got more kind of usable gain at the far end of the spectrum than any of the other pedals that I've got.